Morning class. Today we'll do the properties of indifference curve. Okay, so yesterday we spoke about what indifference curve is, right? In our previous video, we understood what indifference curve is. It shows the combination of two commodities, and on one single indifference curve, whichever combination you are in, it gives you the same satisfaction. And a set of indifference curve is known as indifference map. That is what we have done yesterday, right? Indifference map. A set of indifference curve is called an indifference map, and higher the indifference curve, higher the satisfaction. Okay, if you are at I2, I2 will give you higher satisfaction than I1. Then the combinations that you get in I1, the combinations in I2 will give you higher satisfaction. Similarly, the combinations in I3 will give you higher satisfaction than the combinations in I2. So it goes on. Okay, so higher the indifference curve, higher the satisfaction. Today we'll just do the properties or the features of indifference curve. Now, what are the different properties? Now, this is a very important topic. You might get a separate question. Write down or define the properties of indifference curve in your exam. So please focus on this again particular topic, since indifference curve itself is a very important chapter for you all. So let us now move on to this properties of indifference or the features of indifference curve. So first is downward sloping to the right. So we know that indifference curve is a downward sloping curve from left to right, which means it is sloping from left, starting from left, downward sloping to right. Okay, so indifference curve is a downward sloping curve from left to right. So any downward sloping curve expresses the basic idea that if the one quantity of good is subtracted, then the quantity of other good has to be increased to compensate the consumer and leave him with a new bundle equivalent to the first. Now if you get into this particular explanation, it's very simple. We have done already. It is basically talking about the MRS, right? Or it is talking about the the sacrifice of one good to get the another good. We now what we do is we subtract, right? We sacrifice y to get x. So that is why again the downward sloping curve implies that to attain one commodity equivalent to the another, the commodity, the previous commodity or the commodity which we are consuming has to be sacrificed if you want to consume another commodity. Okay, so but basically what you need to understand here is it is a downward sloping curve, the first property. Okay, another is convex to the origin. So we know there are two kinds of curve, one is convex and one is concave. Okay, now convex to the origin means you see it is downward sloping curve, and this point it is convex to the origin. This O is the origin. Okay, and the curve is convex, so it is in this way, right? It is downward sloping from left to right. It is convex to the origin. If it was the other way around, it would be concave. So it is convex to the origin. And indifference curve is convex to the origin because of the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. We know that what MRS is, right? We have explained that in the last class. So we know what MRS is. There is no need for me to explain once again. If you want to know what MRS is, please refer to the previous video. Now, because of this diminishing marginal rate of substitution, we see that it has a convex slope. Okay, the indifference curve is convex in the form, or it's the shape of an indifference curve is convex to the origin. Next is two curves do not intersect each other. Now two different indifference curve will never intersect each other. This is because what we understood in the previous videos or in the previous explanation, or just before I started this video, I explained to you, higher the indifference curve, higher the satisfaction. If both these indifference curve would intersect, then at this point, at point B, both the indifference curve is giving us same satisfaction, right? Exact same satisfaction. Both I1 and I2 is giving us the same satisfaction at point B. Therefore this is not feasible, or it does not happen. Two indifference curve will never intersect, because two indifference curve will give us two different satisfaction. Okay, so you can write down this explanation in your notebook. And the next is higher the indifference curve represents higher level of satisfaction. This we have already spoke about, right? Remember the indifference map. Higher the indifference curve, higher the satisfaction. Now moving on to the next topic, that is budget line or income line. So first, before getting into this next topic, please copy this. Okay, whatever we have done, all the properties, you need to make a note of it, separate note of it in your copies. Now we go on to the next topic, that is budget line or income line. So budget line or income line. So what is budget? First we need to understand what budget is. So To start off this topic, I would like to give you a very simple example which makes it very clear to you what budget means or what budget refers to as. You have heard many number of times, right? We come across this word budget many number of times in your life. Also, you prepare a budget. Supposing you are going somewhere else, right? You are planning for a hike or an adventure or a trip. You prepare a budget of the vehicle cost, right? The cost that would take in transportation, right, from point A to point B. If you want to move to another destination, what will be the cost? You calculate the cost, right? Consider this cost. Apart from transportation, you also calculate the cost which will for fooding, right? The food that you need to eat, what will be the cost of those things. You again consider the cost that is involved in the food, and apart from that you also consider the cost that is involved in staying, right? Homestays or hotels or lodge, wherever you are staying, you consider the cost per night. What is the cost or what is the price that you need to pay? Now put together everything, you prepare one full budget, and then you plan out, and then you go for an adventure, right? Unless you don't have a budget, unless you have a budget, you cannot go out for an adventure, right? First, the foremost thing, that anything before going out for an adventure, or be it going for a shopping or anything, even if you go to a market or a friend's place, you always consider what is the budget, right? So budget basically sets a limit. It is a limit beyond which you cannot go, beyond which you cannot spend, or beyond which you cannot continue your consumption. It is a kind of a limit. It is a kind of a constraint. constraint. It is kind of a budget. It is also known as budget constraint. It gives us a limit. It sets a limitation till which point we can actually continue to consume or continue to go for an adventure. Entire life we cannot go for an adventure, right? One full year we cannot go for an adventure, because it is not possible. We have a certain amount of money that which we refer to as budget, and according to the budget we have to plan the adventure. It might be for 1 week or 2 weeks or for 1 month. That's it. Okay, so budget is a limit for the consumption of a consumer. Or it is also known as income line. Income means how much income do we have. So that is what is budget line or income line. So a budget line is a line which shows all possible combination of two goods that consumer can buy with his given income and prices of the commodities. It is also known as price line. So budget line is also known as price line. It is also known as income line. Why price line? Because prices are already given, right? And we know at that particular price how much commodities we can consume, or what is the combination of commodities we can consume. Budget line again shows the combination of different commodities. Like I have given an example of an adventure, it shows the combination of fooding and lodging. It shows the combination of transportation and fooding. So budget line gives you the combination of again two commodities. So this is just a introduction to what budget line is. Okay, we'll continue this topic in the next class.